I wanted to cover a whole bunch of really good books that I've read lately. So different recommendations I have for some books and some shows. So this is a fiction book called Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. It is so good. Vina recommended this to me, and I think I finished it in 2 days. It's like set in this like kind of dystopian sci-fi ancient Chinese history. So this is really good. I think there's like multiple reasons why this book is really good. Number one, it has a very strong female character. It has a lot of themes that I think are really relatable to anyone who's like Chinese Canadian, Chinese American. A lot of these like values and how they conflict with maybe modern values. A lot about like sexism and a lot of these like outdated values that kind of women are held to a certain standard on and kind of arbitrary. And then it's just like also some really epic scenes, like so many themes. It's just like something that you'll really find yourself discussing with a friend and being wowed by. Yeah, this character is just amazing. And there's a lot of unexpected things in this story. There's a lot of really good representation in this story. So in terms of, yeah, I don't know. I think you should just really read it. It's a really quick read. Another book that I really enjoyed that's fictional is Shine. This is by Jessica Jung, if any of you guys are Girls' Generations fans. I kind of overlooked this book for a while because I thought it was going to be not that great. But I actually thought this was a very powerful story of basically a K-pop trainee and all the different trials and sacrifices that she has to go to get to where she is. And it's a very painful journey in a way, and it makes me appreciate more how much it takes for people to get to a place in their journey, especially K-pop stars. You know, it's easy to see this end result. It looks so glitzy and glamorous and doesn't look that hard, but it's actually, there's a lot that goes into it, and things they have to give up to get there. And so that kind of reminds me not to just look at the end result of someone. And I really respect the amount of hustle it takes to get to different places. And yep. Some other books that I've really enjoyed recently is this book by Mark Mason. I've read some of his articles on his blog, but this one was like very good. I think he has different things like, you're not special, talking about how a lot of us kind of feel like everything should be our way, kind of things like, here, I'm awesome and the rest of you suck, so I deserve special treatment. And it's just like a lot of things that kind of were eye-opening for me, or the value of suffering. How suffering is just the way it is, and it doesn't mean, I feel like a lot of us kind of avoid it, and sometimes we just like, I don't know how to say, like, and things like this one, like when we force ourselves to be positive all the time, we are like denying life's problems, and so he talks about how like happiness comes from solving problems, and I thought one of my favorite lines from this book was that you're always choosing between different problems. You're not just like running away from problems to cush your life. You're just choosing a different set of problems. So he uses example of working out. Working out, it's not just you choose to work out or not. You're actually choosing different problems. You're choosing to work out and be healthier. But then that comes with problems. You have to figure out when you're going to work out. You got to figure out how to fit in your showers and between your work, and sometimes you might need to kind of pick and choose between some activities, between working out, or should you do something else. But then the price, for example, is if you choose not to work out, usually leaves the health consequences and how you're going to deal with that, and the fallout that comes from that. I don't know, that maybe wasn't the best example, but that was kind of helpful for me to do, is like you're always choosing. For example, recently I was really afraid to ask a preceptor for something like this is like for an evaluation, and I was like so terrified. I was like, oh, I'm so afraid of rejection. I'm so afraid of, maybe he's gonna think I'm being overvaluing myself asking for stuff. I don't know. I came up with all these like fantastical explanations. But then when I read this, after I was reading this book, in the thick of this time, I was thinking about that. Then I realized like the other problem that I would have if I don't ask. Yes, I avoid the problem of the feeling of rejection, but I also but then I encountered the problem of the pain of never knowing, like, what if I asked? So that was kind of helpful for me, because sometimes I can be, like, scared of some things, and so that was helpful for me, like, realize that there's a bad thing about inaction is a choice as well, and it has consequences. Some shows that I really liked, of course, I loved Squid Game. It's really good. commentary on capitalism. I really like My Name, and that's Han So-hee. If you watched her in Nevertheless, it was fantastic. It's only 8 episodes, but again, this really vivid like character growth, very gripping story, very emotional. I really liked it. It was such a, also just like a strong female character, always my favorite. And I don't know, I think it just, maybe the theme of the story, it's like, I don't think it's a spoiler, but she's kind of so obsessed on like revenge that it's like she loses sight of the cost, and then it's kind of like revenge at all costs, but it's actually feels like a very meaningless activity once you get to the end of the story. I'm also enjoying, I have read some of the cartoon of Yumi Cells, and then they're doing a drama version of it, and it's basically imagining you going through your life, but you have like a really cute little cartoon cell representing each of your emotions. So you have anxiety, you have emotion, you have reason, you have your love cell, and then each people talks about how like different cells are more dominant, but it kind of helps me kind of separate out that like perhaps when I'm feeling a certain way, it's this certain emotion that's like taking control of how I'm experiencing, and kind of thinking in that kind of our abstract way. It's kind of like, so it's easy for me to be like watching this theoretical show where someone has these like representations of anxiety. It's like, why are you letting anxiety take over control? Why are you letting emotion totally take control of a situation where it's not appropriate to? And like having that representation and seeing it in like a third person really kind of gives you Hometown Cha was really good. And basically it's like where there's a dentist and she goes to a rural area and she kind of falls in love with the environment and ends up setting up practice there and just ends up staying there. I thought that was timely because I think I started that while I was going off on some of my rural rotations, and it's always an adjustment kind of moving from a new environment, and I did say I did like some of my rural rotations a lot more than I expected, so I thought that was a really meaningful story, and it's a very healthy relationship. Those are not always easy to find in TV, but that was very, if some of you guys might be so young that you didn't even watch DVDs growing up, but this was like, before Netflix existed, we watched these, and so we watched Lord of the Rings. I mean, I faintly remember watching some of this as a kid, but I feel like I always fall asleep, and it's like really long movies, so this is the first time I think I've watched it all the way through, and I was so engaged in it, and I got overly excited. So poor Shannon, I'm so sorry, I commentate throughout entire movies. I'm that kind of person that you watch movies with, and so now I really want to watch all of them, maybe with Shannon over with my family or something, I don't know. But now I want to watch all of them, and I get the hype, and like, and this is funny, I don't know if you guys, there's a lot of memes involving, where is he? Boromir, and suddenly they all make sense, like the memes where he's like, so you've chosen death, and all those, and something else all I took away with it was when I was talking with Shannon, I was like retelling some of these really positive, and I really like was picking out all these like really funny encounters that I might have had, like humorous, not like fun, like humorous encounters that I maybe have with patients and staff, and with some details modified, but I was like really focusing on like funny and positive and reframing and bringing out that kind of energy in myself, and I felt like that was really like energetic for her and energetic for me, as opposed to me complaining about the worst things that happen in a day, of the heavier things. So that's something I want to use as better coping strategies, just like simple things like a movie night, focusing on some funnier things. So let me know if you end up reading any of these books or watching any of these shows. I highly recommend all of them.